So, without wasting much of the time, I would, I would start off by introducing our panelists. So, our first panelist for the day is Mr. Abhishek Agarwal. He's the president of Judge India Global Delivery at the Judge Group. He's a dynamic and exceptional leader with 21 years of extensive cross-functional experience with distinguished global brands such as Judge Group, LMP Infotech, Cape Gemini, if I am pronouncing it correct, Birla,
Gemini.
okay, Genpact. So he has been responsible for the launch and oversight of Judge India, a key component of the Judge Group's global delivery system. So I understand, Abhishek, that you have been able to increase your employee footprint and you have introduced some kind of a revolutionary hybrid work model, which has resulted in considerable increase in your productivity. So can you briefly explain what your company does and how you could achieve that hybrid work model?
Perfect. And thank you, Amit, once again. So also I'll start, as to what we do as a company and what Judge is all about. We are basically a 51-year-old company. We are in the business for the last 51 years. And, out of Fortune 100 clients, we work with 52 of them. A lot of big companies even cannot talk about that. Uh, uh, So Judge India got launched like 5 years back, and the owners of this, launch was to basically put this company primarily into, the
Can
IT
can
consulting
I request
solutions.
other panelists to please mute off the mic? Dr. Modi, can you please mute off your mic, please? Thank you.
Perfect. So the onus is basically, the onus was to promote this company into primarily into the IT learning solutions and consulting space. So as you rightly mentioned, within 4 years we have close to, I would say, if not more, around 100% year-on-year growth in spite of the pandemic. And while this hybrid model, a lot of people are, talking about this, that for IT, especially the technology sector, the COVID has no impact or minimal impact. I would say it did have some impact. It actually had an impact on the burnout for our people. So idea is how did we make it happen, wherein we had this continuous growth, 100% year-on-year growth, and what we did different in terms of our differentiator to attract the talent in spite of all the odds. So and I'll put a disclaimer here. I'll be talking more on the IT sector, the technology companies, and the businesses around these companies, while manufacturing sector definitely had a, I would say, a dreadful time. There was a big vacuum in between. A lot of people lost jobs. It's not only in India but across the world. So, but again, the silver lining is that at least in some areas, a lot of companies made good money. They grew in spite of all the odds, and I would not say it was an opportunity for them, but they utilized this as an opportunity to really adapt, and the agility basically and the ability to adapt, it really helped them fast, to continue the business the way it was, or maybe a better business, I would say, proposition. So we, I was talking about this earlier as well. Necessity is the need of invention, and that's where we thought what we can do different in the COVID time so as to attract the right talent and ensure once the talent is there, how to retain it and train them well. So these three pieces, we combined in just one rope. So first is attraction of the talent. So that's where we build on the branding. We call that as the employee value proposition. So what is your EVP? As far as the company is concerned for a prospective candidate or maybe client as well. So how you can attract the talent? Are you resonating the right culture and the value system to your potential, employee? That's one piece. Second is if that employee really attracts and, gets onboarded in your company, do you have the right onboarding and training mechanism to keep that employee, in the cultural value system that you want, and so that employee burnout is also not there. And the third piece is the most important piece, I would say, is basically the benefit, as to why why this hybrid model is going to benefit these people and the company as well. So the alignment of these three factors really helped us to grow year on year with respect to, I would say, not only the business, but from the employee strength standpoint as well. Now, the important point comes in that what really made it happen. I mean, while this could be the strategic part of it, so tools got into the play. To attract the talent, we got the right tools in play so that, and these tools are, I would say, the talent acquisition tools, more of the applicant tracking systems, wherein these are AI enabled. This system in itself is intelligent enough to trace the right candidate who are more, inclined to work in the hybrid model. And once we have a proper definition of the hybrid model, we can actually put that description in our tool, and according the candidates can apply to us. So that filtration process has actually helped us big time, though it is a big challenge for most of the organizations wherein the AI mechanism is not being used. But I can tell you very well, I mean, to all the esteemed guests in this, uh, panel discussion, that we have a live case study wherein we can say that the AI tool has helped us, basically reduce the effort for hiring one person almost by like 60% as to what we had earlier. So that's a big saving on the time. That was a big challenge that we reduced on. And this tool is very, very, I would say it's very agile and very intelligent in terms of, developing itself into some intelligence. So that, and some bots are there, which basically interacts with the potential candidates. So all in all, a great tool in place. Once the person onboards, and that there becomes the second part of the entire strategy that I spoke about, the training and the onboarding experience. I don't know how many of you would be aware, but I would say only 12% employees in India. There was a survey done by some Glassdoor and some other agencies. Only 12% employees in India, they are satisfied with the onboarding process. So that leaves a big area of improvement as far as onboarding is concerned. And if you ask me, onboarding is the play wherein the marriage begins. That's an area where you really marry the candidate and make that candidate basically belong to your system. So, and it is startling that only 12%, of the employees are satisfied with the onboarding. So that's where we improved our stuff again with the help of the tool. So we developed a tool called Briha. It's a learning management system, and this is unique in terms of what it does. And I'll talk very briefly because it does inculcate the training, ability as well, since we call it as a learning management system. So right from onboarding all the way to training of an employee, the system, I mean, again, an AI-based system, it helps us to develop the modules, specific to the individual actually. It has AR, VR capabilities, it has proctoring, assessment, like something which you would not generally find on regular learning management system. So we ensured that when person comes in, it is basically tagged with this system, and the journey as far as the learning is concerned, the training is concerned, that person goes through the entire journey through this system, and system basically tracks it. System notifies the person. So as far as the upliftment of our resources concerned, within the reskilling of the resources concerned within the organization, the tool really helps. Again, the tool comes into the picture. So I talked about the applicant tracking system, now this Briha, the learning management system. And the third piece, I was talking about the benefits, as to why hybrid model is actually, I would say, good model, especially for IT, banking, most of, I would say, the services sector companies. Uh, so while a lot of people they talk about work-life balance, apparently if I look at US, because US 60% of the US is already vaccinated, especially the adult population, a lot of companies are opening their offices, in June itself this year, like next month, couple of days from now, uh, fully functional for in-person, basically, employee base. So what has happened, this hybrid model has actually burnt it out big time as far as the service sector people are concerned. So while there is a balance, there are companies, like for example, I can name them JP Morgan, I mean Vanguard, like big banks actually over here in US. They've asked their people to come back, by June and by June 14, like some staggered dates. But the point I'm trying to make here is what is the benefit of overall the hybrid model that we're talking about today? Virtualization would remain, it was there. It has come into an existence, more so because of this COVID situation, but whether it will be sustained to the 100% effective manner is a question mark right now. And that's where the hybrid element comes into the picture. While it depends on the nature of the business, I would say most of the companies would go for 30 to 20% of ratio in terms of virtual work. 70% of the work is still going to come back for sure. It's just a matter of time, because culture is something which is not getting in place by working virtually. So we can do a lot of things. We can talk about, we are doing this conference, but ultimately the essence of the culture, the uniqueness of the culture is getting missed upon. So with these 3-4 factors coming into play, we just strategize and we just put the right tools in place. So we try to overcome the challenges, though still there are some challenges. We cannot control everything, but yes, to an extent for IT and the services sector, we do have some solutions in place to talk about. So that's it from my side, Amit.
Thank you, Abhishek. I don't know. Hybrid model. I mean, I hope it works. It hasn't worked for me at least. I mean, my eyes are the first casualty for this. I had no specs 1 year back. So after looking at all the Zoom and MS Teams, now I have to wear specs. I mean,
Yeah,
so there are pros and the cons. So
correct.
a lot of next generation is going to be wearing specs if everything is going to be happening on the Zoom. Anyways,
And
it was great.
yeah, there's a mental fatigue as well, which is being measured, especially in US, and that's the reason all these big banks they're asking their people to come back because they can measure the mental fatigue.
I
The
I
burnout ratio is very, very high.
I'm feeling that at my home. My daughter studies in US and she's been here for the last 1 year. So I know
Hmm.
how what I am going through. So, but then yes, that's something which you have to deal with. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you so much.